This is Mark Smelly Bell, and I'm going to give you guys some tips right now on what you can do about anxiety, how we can start to get rid of it. If you like this channel and like some of the content, make sure you subscribe. Let's get to it. When it comes to anxiety, we have a bunch of choices right here, and that's the key thing, is to understand that you have a choice. What we take in doesn't have to be what we put out. I'm walking down the street right now, somebody says, "F you," I don't have to you back. I don't need to flip them off. I can ignore them. I can choose to ignore them, or I could think, oh my God, it's hilarious. Like, why is that guy in such a bad mood? I get to interpret it. I get to make a choice on how I want to respond to it, how I want to react to it. I think you're better off being responsive than you are being reactionary. You want to try to think about the different thoughts that go through your head when somebody's trying to hurt you, or when something really bothers you, or when you have anxiety towards something. One of the key things that could really help with anxiety is just paying attention to it and to feel it. You feel those little flutters in your chest. You feel like your heart races a little bit. You feel that you have disrupted breathing. If you don't feel these things, you need to learn them. You need to feel them. It's sometimes hard to tell what you're feeling, but what I want you to understand is that anxiety gives you a lot of stress. And stresses that we have complicate our decision-making skills. An example of that would be, how good would your decision-making skills be if you were drowning? Right? Your next concern is when am I going to be able to take my next breath of air? It would be very hard to make other decisions. It'd be very hard to have good decision-making skills in such a stressful environment. Well, if we have anxiety over multiple things in a given day, our decision-making skills can lessen. Great example of it is your diet, my diet, our diet, right? When we're worn down from the day and we have anxiety, we have stresses, remember, fatigue makes cowards of us all. So at the end of a long day, you're going to say, you know what? Man, I really, I dig being on this diet. It's great that I lost some weight, but screw it. I deserve to eat that brownie after dinner. I deserve to eat these mashed potatoes. So I'm just going to go for it. I had a long day, right? I had a rough day. Well, hold on a second. Did you really? Let's work on reinterpretation. If you reinterpret everything that you now know, and you develop that skill set of reinterpreting things as neither positive nor negative, they are just what you label them, then it's a lot easier to not have anxiety over it. I'll give you an example. I'm not a very anxious person under normal circumstances, but as much as I hate to admit this, I'm human, like everybody else, and it happens from time to time. Even just this morning, for example, as I've been getting more in tune with my breathing, and as I've been getting more in tune with sensing stress and sensing anxiety, you need to really be dialed in and tuned in. You need to have a success or a stress meter, and you need to be tuned into that stress meter, and you need to feel it. I need you to learn how to feel it. And it's going to take some time. But I felt a little anxiety as I was getting ready today for what I was going to do, creating this content, doing 2 podcasts, getting in some shoulders and some biceps. I was like, I wonder if I'm going to have time for all that today. Then I was thinking about some of the other things that I'm trying to do in my life, and I was like, man, like today's going to come and go, and I don't know if I have time for that. So all that talk was going on in my head, some of it just kind of negative self-talk, and I recalibrated. I thought about it. I was like, oh, there's those little flutters in the chest. There's that erratic breathing, and I went, I slowed everything down. I brought the tempo down. I did some breathing. I relaxed. And then I was able to do what? I was able to think more clearly, class, right? And I just said, you know what? I work out every day. So I'll probably get to it because I love lifting. And I love the opportunity to lift. And I'm grateful for the fact that I'm healthy. So I'll get lifting in. That'll happen. And I kick ass when it comes to podcasting, and I love making content. So all that will happen, and it'll be great, and it'll be fun. And if for some reason I don't have time for something, no one's probably going to care, and I don't really care. So I completely recalibrated and shifted my brain over to something completely different, something more positive, something more digestible. So aside from reinterpreting what comes in, and aside from, there's another understanding that I'd like you to have, because this would help with anxiety too. I want to talk to you about the word make. We use that word a lot. I think we use it improperly sometimes, because somebody will say, man, I saw that post too, that made me pissed. Or they'll say, oh yeah, I heard that guy say that on the news, and that made me really mad, or that was really offensive. Well, when you start to learn that in this life and in this world, no one can make you feel or think or be any certain type of way. I guess there is physical pain. So without somebody inflicting physical pain on you, no one can make you do anything. No one can make you feel anything. And the sooner that you understand that, the better off you're going to be, because I think most of our anxiety on a daily basis is based off of what other people are thinking of us, based off of other people what might said, based off of other people's Instagrams and social media outlets, and might even have anxiety over your own post. But having anxiety over your own post is having anxiety over the people that are going to be receiving that message, right? You don't want to give other people that much power. They don't deserve it. And it's unnecessary, causing unnecessary stress in your life. We don't want to be overly concerned with what somebody thinks about us. You want to kind of think about it a little bit more like this. And you don't have to think about it in a negative way. You don't have to be like, F those people that aren't with me. But just think about it more like this. I want people to be pro for me, but if they're not, no big deal. And just kind of leave it at that. Like, people are either with you or they're not. It doesn't have to be that they're not with you, that they're your enemy. There's really no reason to waste your time with that either. But they're either pro for you or don't worry about it. There's really no reason to get caught up in that. And I think a lot of times we will say things like, oh, that person made me angry. That person made me sad. And even in the case of like a significant other or somebody you're close to, the reason why that happens is because that person is of high value to you in your life. But why would these people on social media be of a high value to you? Do you think because you had a bad post? Do you think because there's not that many likes on it? Is your interpretation of that you're doing a bad job? Well, that's some disordered thinking going on. That's some irrational thought. And that's some of the definition of anxieties, that you have worry and concern over something that you don't have any control over. And a lot of times anxiety is really worry over things that haven't happened. A lot of times you're worried about the post before you even make it, which is even worse, right? So start to rethink how you're going to work that out in your brain about people not being able to really control or make you feel any certain type of way. Another option that we have here that's great is to simply control control and guard inputs. Control and guard inputs. Guard your inputs. It's really important. What are your inputs? What are these things that are coming into your life? How much control over them do you have? We don't always have control over it, but we have some control over it. And when it comes to, again, bouncing things into social media, you control what's in your feed. Let's say that you are looking at someone's feed and what they say charges you up because you haven't practiced this reinterpretation yet, and you get pissed off. Well, the next day you look at it again, you get pissed off. The next day you look at it again, guy has different religious beliefs, different political beliefs, or whatever, and it's making you mad. stop following them. You know, there's a bunch of different options that you can do. If it's like a friend or something, you don't have to always just unfollow. I think you can like mute their feed or whatever, and you don't always see everything that they post. But anyway, you're a glutton for punishment because you're taking this feed in, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. You can't erase it. It has entered your brain. It's entered your mind, and it's in there. And if you didn't learn how to reinterpret it yet, you're going to feel those flutters of having anxiety, and it's going to be stressful. And in the end, it's probably not worth it because it's not anything productive. It doesn't help you towards your goals. So those are a couple things you can do is to really try to guard those inputs and have a better understanding of how important it really is for you to have inputs that are healthier. Just like our diet, what's in our feed, right? It's really important that we mainly only take in the nutrients that we want. Every once in a while you might have something bad, but how often do you have something bad, you know, in your diet? You know, those of you that are practicing it are probably like, oh, I eat something kind of shitty about once or twice a week. Well, man, imagine if you did that on Instagram or social media in some way. You only took something bad in about once a week. That would be great, but that's probably not what's happening. Probably having multiple inputs every day that aren't great, that are making you feel anxious, that are making you feel anxiety. One of the most powerful ways I've ever learned how to deal with any sort of anxiety, and even I would say depression of any kind, and I want people to keep in mind, I'm not typically a very anxious person, and I never dealt with like clinical depression, so take this with a grain of salt type of thing. But occupying your mind is huge. Focus in on the stuff that you want to do, and focus in on the stuff that you really love and the stuff that you really like. And then you don't have time to be anxious. You don't have time to be depressed. You don't have the time to like wallow in your own, maybe you're wallowing in like something to do with your self-worth. Maybe you don't feel like you're worth anything, or you don't feel like you've accomplished anything. And those things, when you're doing shit all day, it's very hard to feel bad about yourself because you feel like you accomplished so much. So when it comes to anxiety, I think, you know, some of those things I laid out for you right there, I think are crucial factors on some ways that you can reinterpret stuff, on the ways that you can have more positivity in your life. It's a lot easier to be negative than it is to be positive. Being negative is also a way to have some camaraderie. If I was talking to somebody at work and I said, man, I'm just having the best day, like I feel great. Well, somebody checks the box off and they say, okay, well, Mark feels great. He's fine. He doesn't need me, right? And then they go on to the next person. And you talk to the next person, you're like, hey man, how's it going? They're like, I don't know. I think my dog's sick, and I was supposed to take the garbage out this morning, and the garbage truck got there before I had a chance to get the garbage out. And then I got here later than I wanted to, and these shoes I'm wearing are not good for the rain. It's raining outside. Like, just the whole day's like really dumping on their head. Well, a bunch of people would surround that person because people would be like, oh, this guy, he's down in the dumps. So we get rewards for like for being negative in some sense. And being negative is a lot easier, and it's a lot easier way to grab attention, and it's a lot easier way to get people to surround you, people to have empathy with you. So anxiety is no joke. It's a really brutal thing to deal with, but getting yourself moving and getting yourself doing stuff every single day, that's why you see me walking quite a bit. That's why you see me lifting quite a bit. If you're walking and lifting and eating properly is huge. We talked a little bit about the feed, right? And the feed with your brain. Remember, you can't unsee things. Once your brain saw it, it's got a little picture of it, right? If I was to say the following thing, you can't block it out. Explosive diarrhea. You just pictured a blown up toilet somewhere, right? You can't unsee it, you can't unhear it. It's in your feed. So I just threw something disgusting in your head, and now you're stuck with it. And this might be the only thing that you remember from this video. That's important for you to understand, because you want to have control over the stuff that you see. You want to have control over stuff that's in your feed. somebody's acting disgusting or inappropriate or in a way that doesn't vibe with you, please just stop following them. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be a close friend even. It's just not assisting you. It's not serving you any further. We want to do things that are pro for ourselves, because if the more things that we do that are in alignment with what we want to do, the easier it will be for us to assist and help other people, because we'll feel better about ourselves on a consistent basis. Anything that's kind of anti or against you or against some of the things that don't vibe with you, I say don't really worry about them. Don't try to chase them down. Don't chastise them. Don't yell at them. Don't hate them. Just say, oh, they think differently than I do. That's okay. I'm going to be over here working on this, because I'm trying to build something up vertically. I'm trying to build something up to the sky, right? And if I'm worried about all this other shit that's going on over here, I'm not going to have the time to build up to where I need to be built up to. And I think that if we examine 2020 and 2021 even, if we examine the last year and a half or so, it's kind of a great time to test your mettle and test to see how strong you are with some reinterpretation, and how strong you are fighting against things like anxiety. I also think that I mentioned earlier about learning how to feel some of these things. So here's a quick way to learn how to feel something. When I'm training people in the gym, a lot of times I need them to feel their breath or feel their heart rate. I need them to sometimes feel specific muscles, their calves, their glutes, their hamstrings, for deadlifts and squats and things like that. Well, what's this quickest way to kind of feel your heart rate? Obviously, you can put your hand over your heart. But if we walked outside at a fast pace, you'd be able to feel your heart easier. You'd be able to hear that your breathing has changed. If we were to walk with a 40-pound weight vest and we were to walk up a hill, we would feel all those things a lot faster. Our heartbeat would race a little faster. Our breath would get out of control a lot faster. And I would all of a sudden understand how to feel and flex my calves, hamstrings, and glutes. I'd be like, oh, okay, you flex those muscles when you push off the ground, almost like you're running. Like, okay, I think I get some of that, and you would at least understand some of it. But when it comes to like feeling your feelings, a lot of people don't know how to feel these things. And I need you to learn that. And where you can learn that is with this guy right here. Track down some inflammatory stuff on purpose, just for this moment, okay? You don't like former President Trump? Go look up some of his old stuff, or whatever it is. Whatever the things are that are inflammatory. I just thought of that because I know he can be pretty inflammatory. Think about some of the most inflammatory stuff. Go through and look at it and see what it's doing. See how it's making you feel. Feeling a little uneasy with it? Go watch the George Floyd video. Horrible thing to watch, right? It's fucking horrific watching somebody die. Go watch that. See what's going on in here. And see if you can just see how you can reinterpret it to calm yourself down. But maybe you can breathe your way through it. Maybe you can say, okay, let me replace my feelings with facts. This is something that happened. Not much has changed. You know, America has been this way for many years. We've had this separation of races for many, many years. This is very common. This is very unfortunate, but it's normal. There's a lot of racism still that we still have to work on, right? And you watch it. Maybe you're getting upset with something I said right now, but I want you to work on it. Feel what you need to feel. Feel your heart beat. And I want you to notice this. I actually wish the phone would record us while we're looking at text messages sometimes, because you ever see somebody like, right? And they're kind of mad, and they're like, and you kind of make all these weird noises. You're going to start to catch yourself doing that. And when you do, I want you to put your hands down to your side, and I want you to just calm yourself down a little bit and do some nasal breathing. And the way that we do our nasal breathing is go about 3 seconds on the way in and about 3 seconds on the way out, then go about 4 seconds on the way in and go about 4 seconds on the way out, then maybe go 4 seconds on the way in, then maybe 5 seconds on the way out. And you try to increase the amount of air that you're moving, the amount of air that you're blowing out all through the nose, not in the nose, out the mouth, all in and out of the nose the entire time. increasing the amount of time that you blow out your nose just a little bit more each time. I'll just show you a quick example. I did when we were walking earlier, just like this. Put your hands down to the side. I want you to try to relax a little bit, and I want you to breathe in and out of your nose. And when you breathe in and out of your nose, maybe do about 4 seconds on the way in and do about 4 seconds on the way out. Then you do 4 seconds on the way in and you do 5 seconds on the way out. And you're gonna do 4 seconds on the way in and you're gonna try 6 seconds on the way out. We're gonna try about 5 breaths that way. If we can do 10, that would be great. You're just slightly increasing, just tiny bit. It doesn't even have to be a full second, just slightly increasing the air coming out of your nose. I personally like to make a little bit of noise when I do this. I don't know, it just helps me kind of regulate what I'm doing a little bit better. But this is exactly what I did this morning, and it's going to be a practice that I'm going to continue to use. It's been something I've been doing for quite some time, but more recently I got advice from a good friend, Brian McKenzie, who just taught me this method recently. And so here we go. So here's what it looks like. The breath out gets to be difficult. I just did 3 right there, just kind of give you an example. The breathing out part starts to be a little bit hard, but you're gonna feel a huge stress relief. I think a lot of times when people are talking about stress and anxiety and depression and these things, they don't give you tangible things to do. I just gave you a tangible thing to do. Another tangible thing to do would be go for a walk. And if you come back from the walk and you still are disordered and delirious and stressed, walk a little bit further. The number 3 thing you can do is get your butt in the gym. You know, hit some weights, punch a heavy bag. Punch a heavy bag for 30 seconds as fast as you can, and then rest 30 seconds and go and just do that until you can't do it anymore. A lot of your anxiety, a lot of your fears, a lot of the stuff's going to be burnt out of you. You're going to be like, I don't think that way anymore, man. Like, all I care about is my next breath. Of course, the 4th way, other than lifting and walking and breathing, the 4th way, which is probably one of the places we should start, is with your nutrition. Think about a baby. People are always like, oh, my baby's whining because it's not on schedule, or my baby's whining because the sleep's not good, and because they ate something weird and I think they're gassy or whatever, right? And the baby's all fussy. Well, you need your sleep and you need your nutrition too. And you're going to be fussy and you're going to have a hard time making the correct decisions under more stress. You'll be less stressed the better you eat. But what do we do when we're stressed? We eat shitty food. And it's a bad cyclical thing that happens to us over and over again. So get yourself out of that loop, get yourself in shape. In the comments below, I want to know how you're handling some anxiety. Strength is never weakness, weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.